What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 35 of Breaking Bats, presented to you by Not For Long Media. This is a special extra episode of the week. We got the playoffs coming up. We're going to talk about at least the wild card round right now. And with me, as always, JA. What is going on, dude? I know we just did an episode, but we're back at it, and you got your beautiful Seattle Mariners Adam Frazier jersey on, repping friend of the pod and the playoff bound Mariners. So what do we got, dude?
It's exciting. Yeah, today, Friday, when this episode comes out, it's the first games of the first round of the playoffs. So we're going to be doing a wild card preview for everybody this week, breaking down all of the wild card matchups, and at the end we'll be doing our predictions as to how we think the bracket's going to turn out. So it's like March Madness in October. Put on my Joe Lunardi hat, do a little bracketology. It'll be a good time. But yes, shout out friend of the podcast, Adam Frazier. I went out and bought his Mariners jersey in the Northwest green. If you're watching on video, if you're listening, it is a beautiful specimen of a jersey. So I wanted to give a shout out to our guy Frazier. I just a little teaser of things to come. I like the Mariners a lot. I like the Mariners a whole lot. So it's gonna be a good time. But yes, a little mini episode on a Friday here for everybody. But before we get to all the breakdowns and the predictions, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Som Sleep. Are you having trouble getting enough sleep at night? I sure am. Som Sleep has you covered. The scientifically advanced Som snack includes ingredients that are naturally found in your body like GABA, magnesium, and melatonin. Sleep is the best form of recovery, and it has helped people everywhere take their game to the next level. It's simple. All you have to do is drink one serving just 30 minutes before bed, and your body will naturally calm itself down. Other sleep supplements leave you feeling groggy in the morning, but not Som Sleep. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to conquer the day. Go to getsom.com, click shop, and enter the code BATS, B-A-T-S, at checkout for 10% off of your entire order of Som Sleep. All right, we're going to start on the AL side of the postseason bracket with the Tampa Bay at Cleveland. Tampa Bay has the 6 seed. Cleveland Guardians are your 3 seed. I'm going to do a little bit of setting up. We're going to do a little setup here. The record. So when these two teams played each other in the regular season, the Rays had 2 wins and the Guardians had 4. The total runs in this matchup were pretty even. The Rays had 18, the Guardians had 22, so not a big disparity there. The last time these two teams played, there were 2 extra inning games, which I thought was interesting. And a fun little nugget is that, and I actually forgot about this, is that Kevin Cash, the manager of the Rays, actually coached under Terry Francona in Cleveland back in 13 and 14. Brian, let's talk about pitching matchups, though. Game 1, we got your guy Shane McClanahan against, I almost said Justin Bieber. Shane Bieber. The Biebs, Bieber Fever. Bieber's last time out against the Guardians, he got 4 runs in 6 innings. And then in Game 2, it doesn't look like the Rays have announced their Game 2 starter as of yet, but the Guardians are going to be rolling out Tristan McKenzie, very under the radar, good pitcher there in Cleveland this year. So First impressions, pitching matchup. In Game 1, McClanahan-Bieber, that might be one of my favorite matchups in the entire postseason, Game 1 there.
Yeah, I think this series is going to be phenomenal. I think it's just such an interesting matchup of these two teams. Kind of the low-key teams there, in the playoffs. And I believe that Cash came out and said that Glasnow was going to start Game 2 whenever that was. So I believe that matchup is Glasnow-McKenzie. So yeah, McClanahan, Bieber, and Glasnow McKenzie, if I'm right about that, is 2 very, very good pitching matchups. But I just think these teams are so similar in their kind of how they're built and how kind of low key they are. And I'm just excited to watch it and kind of see how it plays out. I will say Tampa has a little bit of experience in these situations, so we'll see if that plays a role in it. What do you think?
First of all, great call in the Glasnow starting Game 2. He was announced as a Game 2 starter, and now I look on MLB.com in the Game 2 matchup for the Guardians. They have TBD listed as their starter as of Thursday morning when we're taping this. So who the hell knows? It'll probably be Tristan McKenzie. He's been their guy the entire season, but pitching matchups are going to be so much fun. I have a couple X factors though. I think first of all in Tampa Bay, they have to get Randy Arozarena going. This guy, first of all, when he gets hot, he can carry a lineup, but he's been batting .083 in his last 7 games. So I think if Tampa wants to have success in this series, they're going to have to get Randy going at the plate and also the bullpen. We've talked about, obviously, our guy Pete Fairbanks, their ERA this season has been the 7th best in baseball. So I think Tampa kind of has the edge when it comes to overall bullpen depth and quality of relievers. But obviously Cleveland, we talked about it with Bieber and McKenzie. Their starting pitching is fantastic. Both of those guys have sub threes, 200-ish innings between them. If they pitch like they have all season, Tampa is going to be they're going to be in trouble because Cleveland can obviously roll out some dudes on the bump there that are fantastic. So right, it's going to be a fun series. I don't know if it's going to be a lot of high scoring games. I don't know if you see these offenses putting up, I don't know if they have the firepower to go and slug it out duel. But who do you think's got the edge in terms of like bullpen pitching and then starting pitching?
Man, I gotta go with the Rays. Top to bottom, I gotta go with the Rays. I think obviously Bieber is electric, and Emmanuel Clase at the end of that bullpen is electric. But just top to bottom, what the Rays do, and you're talking about McClanahan and then Glass now, and then Jeffrey Springs had an unbelievable year. All those guys in the bullpen, Pete, Jason Adam, guys most people have never even heard of who were just nasty. The way the Rays mix and match that stuff and just piece together games, and like I said before, their experience as a coaching staff and as players. I like the Rays in the series. I think it's a great series, but I do like the Rays.
So in terms of my pick for this series, I'm going to go Tampa as well. Tampa has lost 5 in a row, so that's something we probably need to mention in all of this. Is that we talk about teams that get hot at the right time and roll into the postseason with a lot of momentum. That's not Tampa, but I guess you and I are both looking at them as they've been there, they've done that. When the lights shine the brightest, that's when you get the best out of Tampa, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. But I just think this is a really cool series. I think this was I think especially in the AL that both matchups are really, really cool matchups.
I think so too. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different storylines when we talk about these AL side of the bracket here. And that kind of rolls into our next game. We have the Seattle Mariners playing their games at the Toronto Blue Jays. This is the Mariners. They're the 5 seed. The Blue Jays are the 4 seed. Again, very, very interesting matchup here. So let's talk about the record against this season. So in the games that the Mariners and Blue Jays played, the Mariners had 5 wins and the Blue Jays only had 2. Seattle swept a very big 4-game set against Toronto. They were in Seattle. They outscored them 21-11 that series. Just absolutely steamrolled through them. A couple of things of note: Julio Rodriguez is back. He's healthy. He hit an upper deck home run on Wednesday. I think he's going to be your guy at the plate there for the Mariners. Jesse Winker was put on the IL, and they recalled outfielder Taylor Trammell. But Winker has kind of scuffled this year. He was hitting 219, and he has a negative .3 WAR. So, it remains to be seen what kind of impact that'll have on the Mariners lineup there. A couple X factors though that I wanted to talk about. Toronto's game 1 starter is going to be Alek Manoah. He has been basically unhittable. In his last 7 starts, a .94 ERA, and on the season, it's a 2.24. And also the Blue Jays offense have just been firing on all cylinders. They have 5 guys with at least 24 homers, and the team itself led baseball with a 264 batting average. Toronto, just top to bottom, looks like an absolute juggernaut in this series. Like pitching, offense, this team, that's how they were able to lock up that 4 seed. What do you think about Toronto?
They can hit the Manoah is great. Manoah is definitely nasty, and beating him in a game like that is going to be tough. But to me, Toronto, they just hit the shit out of the ball. They had a bunch of dudes who can really hit. You said 5 guys with 24 homers at least?
Yeah, at least 24.
That's special. So they can slug it out with you, but at the same time, you get Luis Castillo on that bump. It's a tough guy to slug some homers off of it and do that. So Toronto's at home. They got Manoah. That first game, I think, is a tough game, even if Castillo is on the bump for the Mariners. But after that, if I'm Seattle, I feel pretty good, even if we don't win that first game. And now that like you said, Julio Rodriguez is back, I think that makes just a world of difference for the Mariners. I mean, obviously he's had an unbelievable season, but just everything they do, man, it starts with him. So he's back out there. They got to be feeling better. I really like this Blue Jays teams, but I don't know, man. I think the Mariners, they broke that drought, getting to the playoffs. I feel like they're gonna steal this series and move on to the next round. They're not going out in the first round after all this time without making the playoffs.
That's such a great point. Is that you're right. After everything that this team has been through, like the first time making the playoffs in was it 20 years? Was it 2001?
I think it was 01, yeah.
Yeah. So like it would be a shame to have all of this stuff happen and then just get bumped in the first round. Like that's not how I don't think this team sees himself going out. But it's tough because we talked about this, I think, on our episode this week, was that at the Rogers Center during the playoffs, it is an atmosphere unlike anything else because that's a team that has an entire country behind them. It's not like a team that has like a big city or whatever. The entire country of Canada follows and roots for the Blue Jays. So when it comes time to the playoff, you're right. The Joey Bats 2015 ALDS home run, the bat flip, like it's a tough place to play. And the fact that all three games potentially, if it goes three, are going to be played in Toronto, it's tough for the Seattle Mariners. But I think the Mariners have great rotation depth. I think their rotation depth, I think, is a little bit better than Toronto. Robbie Ray, Gilbert, George Kirby, who's probably going to be up there for Rookie of the Year, and Luis Castillo, like you mentioned. A great bullpen to boot. So our game one matchups, like you said, Luis Castillo versus Alek Manoah, a great pitching matchup. I'm going to, for picks here, I'm taking the Mariners. I think they find a way to get it done in hostile territory in Toronto. Is Seattle your pick as well?
Seattle's my pick. But I do think this series has the potential to just be phenomenal. 3 games, and it's just in Toronto, how that place is, and just these two teams. Man, there's some awesome players on both sides, and I think it's just going to be a super. I hope it goes 3. I hope it's as entertaining as I think it's going to be. But yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like the Mariners just gotta sneak it out.
Ride this wave, man. Cal Raleigh, that home run to send him into the postseason. I think we're going to see a lot of big time moments from like that, from some unsung heroes there on the Seattle Mariners. All right, so that is our AL side of the postseason bracket. Before we get to the Phillies playing the Cardinals, we have an ad.
Yeah, the Phillies series is going to be brought to you by our sponsor, the Original Fudge Kitchen. You can find them online at fudgekitchens.com. If you're down the shore, Philly, Jersey Shore listeners, as the season winds down here, they got stores in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Ocean City, and Stone Harbor. Go check them out. And if not, they ship sweet treats and fudge all over the country, and you can get that at fudgekitchens.com. That's the Original Fudge Kitchen.
Before we get to this games, what would you say the breakdown of Jersey Shore fandom is? Do you think most people are going to the Shore from Philly or New York?
So that's a great question, first of all. Second of all, that is a very geographically dependent question. So if you're like everybody from Philly and the surrounding areas, for the most part, go to the South Jersey Shore, where we're talking about, the Original Fudge Kitchen being. So down there is basically East Philadelphia when the summer hits. But going to Rutgers, Central Jersey, and learning New Jersey as I did then, New York and all the rest of Jersey goes to North Jersey and stuff like that, and they're typically Yankees fans. And I would say in general, like, South Jersey is very south. Like, it is just the very South Jersey. And then what you would look on a map and see is like central New Jersey, and like just above South Jersey is like North Jersey. They're all New York fans.
It's just fascinating. Yeah, I've as a Marylander, I'd never been to the Jersey Shore. I feel bad not going to the Jersey Shore after we talk about them every single week with the Original Fudge Kitchen. But yeah, that's just something that a Marylander just has no idea about. So yeah, I guess you're right. But that's next summer. We'll have to get up there, go to South Jersey. Sounds like it's a little bit more fun.
It's a great time. I highly recommend it. And yeah, it's it's a lot of South Jersey, man, is actually very rural. There's not a lot going on in between, like right on the other side of the river from Philadelphia, and then until you hit the beaches, there's not a whole lot going on there. So like where Mike Trout's from. It's a little bit of a little country kind of place, and so there's not a ton of people. But yes, when the summer hits, it's East Philadelphia, and down there is packed and a great time.
Dang. Wait. Oh yeah. Shout out Millville, New Jersey. Yeah. Our next series is the Phillies. They're going to be playing at the Cardinals this series. The 6-seed Phils against the 3-seed Cards. So games against the record against this season. The Phillies 4 wins. The Cardinals had 3 wins. All the Cardinals 3 wins came back in early July. Or actually, all these games I think were played back in early July. I think it went like these 2 teams played, and I think there was like a 3-game set in between, and then they just played each other again, which I love when the teams have to play each other that often in a short period of time. Things to note: Zach Wheeler for the Phils. He beat the Cards in back-to-back starts this season. He pitched 7 shutout innings both times. So that'll be a fun thing to watch, is that it looks like Zach Wheeler kind of has the Cardinals number. So that'll be interesting. The Phillies have the rotation set. They're going to obviously start our guy Zach Wheeler in game 1. Aaron Nola, who just threw a gem his last time out, will be in game 2. And Ranger Suarez, who been kind of like a very under-the-radar good pitcher for them this season. He'll be your game 3 starter for the Phillies if necessary. All right, guys to watch. I did a lot of research on this series. In games against the Cardinals this season, Alec Boehm was 8 for 19. He had a slash line of 421, 429, and 842 with 2 bombs. So Alec Boehm kind of loves hitting against the Cardinals. And then on the other side, Nolan Arenado went 10 for 22 against the Phils. He slashed 455, 520, 1,000 with 3 home runs. So a couple things to note, to watch for if you're watching this series. What are your first impressions of Phillies and Cardinals?
First impression is, the trio of Cardinals playing possibly their last games and possibly their last home games. Pujols, Molina, and Wainwright there. But, the Cardinals are a good team. They have a lot of good players. Those 3 guys I just said, Goldschmidt and Arenado, have been just fantastic all year. And then the Phillies obviously have star power too. So I do think it's an interesting matchup. And I like the Phillies pitching actually a little bit more. I think Zach Wheeler is one of the more underrated pitchers in all of baseball. I faced him a long time ago when he was with the Mets and thought he was gross back then, when he wasn't really nobody really cared about him. And now I think he's really good. Aaron Nola is really good too. But if the Phillies hitters, if Bryce Harper and Real Muto and Hoskins, if these guys can show up, they'll win this series. But my gut's telling me that, Pujols, these guys are making one last little run. They're going to win this series. And Arenado and Goldschmidt are going to be the superstars that they are. And at home, I think the Cardinals pull this series out. But I do think will be some good games.
Busch Stadium in the playoffs, with everything you just mentioned, with the 3 guys, the Pujols, the Yachties, the Wainwrights, people are going to want to see them just in case that is the last time they ever put on a Cardinals uniform. So I feel like there will be a little bit of that let's win it for those guys kind of mentality. I keep looking. I was doing that when you're talking there. I keep looking for the Cardinals rotation order on Thursday, and they haven't released it yet. But they have some options. You could go Wainwright, obviously. Miles Michaelis has been very good this season. Quintana, they just picked up from the Pirates, I think has been very, very good. And obviously Montgomery, who they picked up from the Yankees. So they have a lot of rotation options. Zach Wheeler obviously shoves against them. Nola almost had 6 2/3, a 2-hit ball last time out. So it'll be a very fun pitching matchup. But in terms of X Factor, I think I wanted to give a shout out to Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals. Have you looked at this guy's stats this season? He's 9-1 with a 1.25.
Dude, I pinch hit against him. Is that pinch hit? I think it was a pinch hit last year in San Diego against him, and he wasn't really established yet. And he's still throwing 102 like he does. And I ended up swinging at 2 sliders that didn't even reach the plate and struck out. And I was talking to Flash afterwards, and he's like, "This guy's pretty good, huh?" And I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck? Yeah, who the fuck is this guy?" And obviously everything that he's done since then has made me feel better about that at bat. So yeah, he's pretty good.
I love how a reliever, I think this is our primary closer, just has 9 wins.
Yeah,
The Orioles used to have a guy like that, Brad Brock, and they used to call him the Vulture because he would always come in and steal wins. I think there was one year he might have had 10 wins as a reliever. I'm like, how?
that's
How do
hilarious.
you always just come in and vulture these wins off of the starter? But yeah, he's 9-1 this season. So shout out Ryan Helsley. It's fantastic. And I looked at Ryan Helsley's stats against the Phillies this year. Phillies fans, you might want to close your ears because if it gets to the back end of the bullpen, it's not looking great for your side. Helsley held the Phillies to a .071, 143, 071 slash line in 3 games, and they had 13 at bats against them. So they can't touch him. So you just gotta pray that you have a lead. The Phillies do going into this series, because if the Cardinals do and it's late, I don't know what this guy's walkout song is, but it's probably electric if he has these kind of stats. But it's probably actually I think he might be the one that uses Hell's Bells. I might have seen that on TikTok.
Yeah, I think they just did a whole. I can't remember what the song is, but they did like a whole custom, the lights and everything once all that stuff kind of started blowing up this year. So he's got something.
Okay. September 7th, Cardinals Ryan Helsley debuts new Hell's Bells themed entrance, and they flash the entire stadium goes red with like the scoreboard projecting just a beam of red light. Okay, that's badass.
It's pretty good, but yes, I'm rolling with St. Louis in this series.
That's gonna be my pick as well. They have the NL MVP Paul Goldschmidt, Arenado, Pujols. I mean, that the lineup just. I don't see how the Cardinals don't win this series, and if the Phillies do end up winning that series, you can clip that part and hold it against us. So that'll be a fun little tidbit there for everybody listening. Last up, the last game we want to preview on the wild card round is Brian's Padres. They're going to be going at the New York Mets. Padres are the 5 seed. The Mets are the 4 seed. The record against this season is very good for the Padres. The Padres had 4 wins, and the Mets only had 2. And in those series, the Padres outscored them 36-23. And in one of those series back in early June, the Padres' 2 wins were 7-0 and 13-2. So if you're a Padres fan, you got to be hoping that there's some of that magic left, because Chris Bassett gave up 7 runs in one of those games in 3 1/3. Something interesting to note about this series is pitching matchups, though. I read a whole piece. I think Joel Sherman from the New York Post was breaking this down. The New York Mets, they're planning to start Scherzer game 1. It'll be Scherzer and Yu Darvish. And they're going to try, if possible, to rest Jacob deGrom for the NLDS. And it's like the Charlie Day, It's Always Sunny, like Pepe Sylvia kind of weird thing here, because bear with me. If the Mets win game 1, Bassett would start game 2. If the Mets lose game 1, deGrom would start game 2. And if the Mets win the opener but then lose game 2, deGrom would start game 3. So I don't know if that made any sense. I don't know why they've made it so complicated, Mets. Why can't you just lay out your starters? But this is kind of where we're at in terms of pitching matchups. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think they're tinkering a little bit too much?
Yeah, at the end of the day, yes. I get why you would want deGrom on the bump game 1 for that series. But you got to get there. You got to get there. So this is, we talked about this before we started recording, and it's already documented. The Mets have been my pick since before the season started. When we World Series, I had the Mets over. Don't worry about who I picked in the AL, but
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The Mets is all that matters, and so I got to roll with the Mets. Sorry, Padres fans, I got to stick to my guns at the beginning of the season. Just got to roll with it. It's not my fault you guys ended up matched up with them in the first round. But this is making me not feel good about it. I don't like that. I don't like that juju that they're throwing out there with, like, hey, we're going to try to save deGrom if we can. No, you put your Scherzer and deGrom out there, and that's it. Now, you can't sleep on the Padres. This made me feel really uneasy, because Padres got some dudes who can swing it. They got, Machado, Soto, who, if play like they're capable of, hit like they're capable of, can take over a series, and you could be done. They also have Yu Darvish and Blake Snell and Joe Musgrove, who are all 3 very good pitchers right there. So, and the Mets are missing Starling Marte still. They obviously have not played great down the stretch here because the Braves caught them and took the division. So it's making me feel uneasy. It's like they're just playing with fire. So I'm gonna stick with my pick of the Mets, but man, it's making me nervous thinking about all this now. But I'm going with the Mets. I think this is another great series. Our first base coach from the Padres last year, Wayne Kirby, is the Mets' first base coach now too, which is hysterical to have that little dynamic going on there too. But man, you put Scherzer and DeGrom out there, and that's the end of the story. Still picking the Mets. What do you got?
In the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend, because I have some stats to back up my pick. I'm, of course, going with the Padres. So, Yu Darvish against the Mets, he allowed 1 run in 14 innings across 2 starts. So that's good for the Padres. Juan Soto, he played on a little team called the Nationals, and he played the Mets a whole heck of a lot. And I looked at his career numbers against the Mets. He's a .303 hitter, 71 hits, 16 homers, and 42 RBIs in 68 career games against New York Mets. That's good news. I know that the Mets have been flailing lately. That's why I'm going to go with the Padres, baby. Time to shine. Hashtag time to shine. San Diego Padres. Slam Diego's back, baby. So, yeah, I had no allegiance to the Mets to have at the beginning of the year, so I was under no reason to be – I was not compelled to pick them in this series, but this might be my favorite series to watch. I know we talked about the other 3 are going to be fantastic, but in terms of just this series as stars, they have, storylines. If the Mets lose this series, it'll be hilarious on Twitter to watch Mets fans blow up. So please give me the Padres. Be great.
Yeah, listen, I'm a little biased to the Padres. And I can definitely see them winning this series. Everything you just said, I don't know. It's almost like destiny too that the Mets are going to collapse and that the Padres win this series and end up playing the Dodgers. Like it's like bound to happen somehow, which is scaring me too. It's just like destiny. So I can definitely see that happening, which by the way, if that does happen, would be fucking electric series, I hope. Because the Dodgers kind of own the Padres, but would be awesome to watch. But man, seriously, these wild card, I think all 4 of these series are really interesting in different ways, and I think they're all going to be very good series. So MLB and the fans, I think, are going to get what they wanted with the expanded for all the not all the but some of the complaining that was happening about there's too many teams getting in now and it's too easy. I think these series and matchups will kind of shut anybody up that was saying that, and that may have been me. No, I think this is the perfect amount. If you add any more teams, too many, but this is acceptable.
I had a very spirited debate last night with one of my friends about I missed the 1-game wild card. It was pure chaos. It was managers. It was the better manager wins. It was every at bat counts. Every pitching change counts. If you've messed that up, sorry. Good luck next year. And if you don't want to be in that situation, then just win your division. So yeah.
Would you want this amount of teams, but instead of 3-game series, you go 1?
Absolutely. It would be pure chaos.
It would be, and I got one better for you too, because in Japan, and they do it in Korea too, I believe. In Japan, not this first round. Like this first round for us is best of 3. But the next round, if we win, we play against Oryx in a 7-game series, but they start with 1 win. So it's technically we got to beat them 4 times, and they only got to beat us 3. So what if they did? So what if you did the wild card series was the same amount of teams right now, and the higher seed starts with a win, so they only got to win 1 game, but the other team's got to beat them. The lower seed's got to beat them twice.
Oh wow, that would make all the old heads in baseball make their head explode. That would
be like, but it would give you for the away team, that first game. And I think this is crazy too, but it's just kind of popped in my head right now, and it sounds pretty interesting. That first game for the visiting team for the lower seed is do or die, right? So they're going all out for that. And then if they win, there you go. You got your 1 game elimination, and it's nuts anyway. So I am talking myself into it right now as we are talking.
You're slowly
about it.
talking yourself into it.
Like, shit, yeah, I literally didn't think about this at all until right now, but I'm kind of for it because you're right. The one game wild card series were nuts.
It gave us so many memorable moments, and like I just worry that we're going to kind of lose some of that awesomeness in a 3-game set where you got to win 2, and I don't like the fact it's all at the higher seeds park. Like that's the best part about these games is that seeing the cool fan interactions, the Pirates chanting Cueto, dropping the ball. Like I don't know, like give me the one game, but I wouldn't even be opposed if they added 4 wild card teams, but then just all 1-game playoffs. Let's add another. Bear with me. Let's just add another. That way the Orioles could get into the playoffs this season and then just have a series of 1-game playoffs. And then who knows? Who knows what happens? Because if all you got to do is make it to the big dance and anything could happen.
Like they do like the NBA play-in games.
Yeah. Was it the 9 and 10 seeds? Yeah.
I don't even know, something like that.
Yeah.
No, but it's interesting, man, for sure. Because the 1 games are in baseball, you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Typically, in the longer series, the better team is gonna win eventually. But 1 game, man, that's a fucking toss up. So
the Nationals
can happen.
Nationals probably would not have beaten the Brewers in a 3-game set or in any longer of a series of games in 2019. The Brewers were the better team. They had Christian Yelich was having a fantastic season. Their bullpen was better. The Nationals probably couldn't have hung around with them. So, but that 1 game that rode the momentum all the way to a World Series and haven't been the same since. So yeah, I just think we'll talk about, all these great postseason matchups and everything, but there's just still a part of me that just can't quit that 1 game. I don't know. It's like the ex-girlfriend just can't get over it. It's like, damn, yeah, that was so much fun. All the good times that we had.
It's intense, man. All or nothing. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's get off the nostalgia train and we'll get on to our predictions. So, on MLB.com they have the postseason bracket challenge. I filled mine out last night. I don't think you can submit it when I did mine, but let's kind of recap all of our picks here. So we'll start at the top of the bracket. The Astros, of course, have the bye in the first round. So Blue Jays and Mariners, we both had the Mariners. Okay. Guardians and Rays, we both had Tampa, I think.
Both had Tampa.
Okay, and then the Yankees have a bye. So on the NL side, Dodgers have a bye. Mets and Padres, I have the Padres, you have the Mets. Cardinals and Phils, we both have the Cards, and then the Braves have a bye. So let's talk ALDS. Astros and Mariners, I have the Mariners advancing to the ALCS. Who do you have?
Astros, man. They just win.
The Astros.
Yep.
Yeah. I looked at like the standings against each other this season a lot when making my picks, and so the Mariners had 7 wins and the Astros had 12 wins against those 2 teams head to head this year. Here's to hoping that the Mariners can pull out 3 in a row in a best of 5. All right. Next up, Rays and Yankees. I have the New York Yankees, unfortunately, move into the ALCS. Who do you have?
I have the Rays because the Rays just seem to kind of own the Yankees a little bit. And when this time comes, we'll get more into it. But just real fast is all the pressure's on the Yankees, man, especially when you get to the playoffs. Like if the Rays go into that series playing against the Yankees, the Rays got nothing to lose, dude. They're supposed to be little brother. The Yankees are supposed to win the World Series, or it's a lost year. And yeah, I don't know. The Yankees know the Rays kind of got them somehow, and I think there's something to it.
I think so too. Yeah, it remains to be seen. I just feel like the Yankees, obviously, when this series starts, we'll talk more about it. But the Yankees have to win this series, otherwise it's an abject failure. On the NL side, Dodgers, I have them going against the Padres. In that series, I have the Dodgers advancing to the NLCS. Who do you have? Dodgers, Mets.
This is very tough because the Dodgers have obviously been a juggernaut. But like I said, I'm sticking with my guns. Mets, DeGrom and Scherzer, put them on the bump. Don't save them. Mets move on.
All right. And then finally, we have the Cardinals. They're going to be playing the Braves in our projected matchups. I have the Atlanta Braves advancing to the NLCS once again. Who do you have?
I'm with you on that one. I got the Braves. Been there, done that.
All right. So now ALCS, NLCS. On the AL side, I have the Mariners going against the Yankees, and I have the Seattle Mariners going to the World Series. Is this the first time they've ever been to a World Series? It might be. I don't think they ever have.
I don't know.
Don't fact check us on that. We're just going to say that. If you say anything confidently, people will believe it. So I have the Mariners. Who do you have advancing to the World Series?
I got the Astros. The Astros, man, like I said, I don't know. They just keep winning every year.
You can fact check us. The Mariners are the only team in the current Major League organization to have never played in the World Series, 1977 to today. That's actually very sad. So hey, they get the monkey off their back, and they're in it again this year, or they're in it this year. All right, NLCS, Dodgers and Braves. I have the Dodgers advancing to the World Series. You have the Mets and the Braves. Who's advancing to the World Series?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Mets. I think the Braves caught them in the regular season, but the Mets are going to be rolling, and they take the playoff or the postseason from them, and Mets go to the World Series.
All right. It all comes down to our World Series predictions in our postseason bracket. I have the Seattle Mariners going to play the LA Dodgers, and I have the LA Dodgers winning the World Series this year. So I think I called that at the beginning of the year, but maybe not the AL side. We don't really talk about that. Who's winning your World Series between the Astros and the Mets?
Yeah, so I got the Astros versus the Mets, and I'm pretty sure that's what I predicted to start the season. I definitely didn't pick the White Sox from the AL. So, but I'm going to pick the Mets. The Mets for my preseason pick. Like I said, I'm going to stick to my guns and roll with it. Scherzer, DeGrom on the bump. I'm taking them. Lindor and old Pete have a great postseason. Mets take it home.
All right. Yeah. And so both of us have stayed true to our preseason World Series predictions. We don't really need to talk about the AL side. I don't think that's really relevant to any of this. But, you have the Mets winning it all. I have the Dodgers winning it all. It'll be fun to watch. I keep telling everybody that asked me about the playoffs this year. I think it's going to be the most fun in recent memory. So hopefully it lives up to the expectations here.
I agree, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Even though I'm probably spot on about my predictions, anything could happen, and it'll be very entertaining no matter what. So, I'd love to see some other scenarios play out, but I'm probably right because it's just how it goes.
Again, say anything confidently, people will believe you. I don't know if people realize this. All right, two last things, and then we'll run out of here and let you guys enjoy your Friday, filled with a weekend full of beautiful playoff baseball. So we wanted to give a shout out to friend of the podcast, Actions Over Words. It's an apparel brand with the mission of encouraging people to use their actions instead of their words. They were founded in Cape May, New Jersey by Alec Levin. They donate $5 of every sale to charities around the world. So check them out at actionsoverwordsapparel.com. Use the promo code N4L for 10% off of your order of tees, hats, hoodies, and more. And finally, we mentioned this on our other episode this week. Football season is here, people. Not For Long Media podcast family has tons of great content for you to check out. This week's Colin Thompson show, their guest was the Carolina Panthers defensive tackle Matt Ioannidis. It was a fantastic interview that I was a part of. And also be sure to check out our other Not For Long Media podcast, Two Girls, One League, and Odgies with Harry Mays and Jason Martinez. So lots of great stuff for everybody to check out. That kind of wraps up our first of 2 podcasts a week. It's gonna be a lot more of Brian and I, maybe with some special guests thrown in. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. The month of October, it's my favorite month of the year in general. So to have all this stuff happen and to do 2 episodes a week, it's gonna be beautiful. So here's to hoping for some awesome playoff baseball.
Well said. Enjoy the playoffs, everybody, and we'll see you next week.